Should we do something that we probably never thought we would do and actually have a taste of the wine?
That's a very good idea. Let's do that. Perfect time to drink a great glass of 1882 Tawny Port. This is your breakfast, Charles.
Thank you.
It's hard to imagine that even in 4 or 5 generations' time they would be able to make a wine better than the one we have here today. And that was made probably without electricity. It's actually quite fun to think that this wine was probably transported in an ox cart down to the river and then rolled onto a barco rebel and taken by boat down to Gaia. The great thing about wines like this is that when you walk into the room, the whole room just smells of this fantastic sort of concentration of it's got those almost one of the aromas that comes through a lot is that almost orangey sort of smell that comes through in these very old wines. I love this sort of slightly almost greenish tinge that the wine gets on the rim when wines get to this age. It's
zesty vibrance, zest, orange zest, as you say, is absolutely.
It's like admiring a sort of a very rare jewel.
Think of what they lived through. I mean, there was sort of, 2 world wars, the crisis in Portugal in 1974, and all this time the wine was sitting there in the lodge just, minding its own business.
And when so many other families came out of the port business and had to leave because it wasn't going to...
I think that's a key thing.
It wasn't going to be a future, and they steadfastly and resolutely stuck to doing what they felt they knew best and producing great wines and yet at the same time keeping a wine like this. It is almost frightening.
It's so fresh and beautiful fresh finish. And
if anything smells of age, that smells of age. That smells of time.
Coffee and marzipan and.
But it's almost a wine that it's almost a sacrilege to describe it. It's just to enjoy the history of.
I think the decision to release the wine now with bringing together the various components of our family heritage and the history of our family with a decanter from Atlantis Crystal in Portugal, the silver from Scotland to AJ's home where he came to Portugal as a young man, and the box made by Smythson's at Bond Street. I think this brings the whole circle even closer because Morris's war diaries were written in Smythson's notebook. And Churchill lived there, very close to there. The history books show that was where he had an apartment that he lived in for years. They're crossing the road and he sees Grandpa, and this is 1926 or something, and he looks at my grandfather and just lifts his walking stick and says, "Port." He couldn't remember his name. He couldn't remember he was called Maurice Symington, but he remembered drinking port with him in the trenches and in the war. And I think that was Grandpa's proudest moment, port. Okay, come on, Chili, go and sit down. Come on, Root. okay, now that she's sitting, okay guys, thanks very much, that's it.